Hello and welcome to Chapter 2 of Momentous Events in the Life of a Cactus. I'm never gonna fit in, but being different's not a sin. The Square Pegs, punk band established 2003, Phoenix, Arizona. High school. Two words that struck fear into the heart of every armless middle schooler I knew, which was me, and like two people online. 3,000 kids. 3,000. And only 700 from my middle school. No worries, I totally had this. Remember? Blase. I entered the cafeteria and the roar of high schoolers nearly deafened my ears. I searched for Zion among the chaos and found him alone at a table. No need to save a chair for me. People weren't exactly scrambling to sit with us. Finally, Zion said, though he couldn't have been waiting for longer than a minute. I thought you would never get here. Just getting the kinks worked out in ceramics, I dropped my bag onto the table and eased my head out from under the strap. I'm going to attempt the potter's wheel. It was the teacher's idea, but I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a huge mess, Zion said. I'll have to sit here alone while you clean up every day. I narrowed my eyes at him. For my first project, I'm going to make you a lovely vase for your room. I said vase, the fancy way. Vase. It will look beautiful displayed between the pile of dirty laundry and the brown banana peel. Zion rolled his eyes at me as I sat down, slipped my foot out of a flip-flop, and opened the top of my bag with my toes. I had retired most of my flats by the end of summer break. Nothing like catching a waft of major foot stank while trying to put on some lip gloss to make you give up sweaty flats for good, dust or no dust. Now I carried foot wipes with me everywhere I went. Okay, yes, they were technically butt wipes, but I used them for my feet, which automatically converted them to foot wipes. Someone bumped into me a little bit from behind. I turned around and found Zion's older brother standing there. Hey, guys, he said with his big, bright smile. Lando must have been the happiest guy on earth, always smiling. I guess he had a lot to smile about. Hey, I said. Hey, bro, Zion said with his usual look of consternation. If Lando brightened up a place with his ever-present smile, then Zion consternated it up with his constant consternating. Though Lando was only 1 year older than Zion, they were so different, it was hard to tell they were brothers. How's everything going? Lando pulled out a chair next to Zion. How's your first day of high school? Zion took a big bite of his apple and chewed like eating it required the effort of an aerobics class. Uh-oh, Lando scanned the cafeteria, an exaggerated, fearsome look on his face. Do I need to beat someone up? Zion and I both shook our heads. I knew Lando wasn't serious, but still, he was pretty protective of Zion. Except when they were the ones fighting. Brothers. I didn't get it. How's it going, Even? Lando said. I shrugged as I dug around in my bag with my foot. Oh, fine. I mean, the faucets in the bathrooms are impossible to work, especially with no actual countertop for me to sit on. And I could live without the ridiculously shaped hand blowers I can't even fit my feet down into. I finally found what I was searching for and pulled it out. I held it up in my toes. Good thing I have foot sanitizer. Lando laughed and held out his hand. Let me in on that. I squeezed them into his hands, which he rubbed together. Then he held them to his nose. Oh, he cried. It smells all fruity. Yes, now you smell like a girl, I told him. You should have warned me. I smiled innocently. Sorry, Landolina. Would you like some of my lip gloss too? Pass, Lando said. So everything else is going okay? You don't have to worry about us, Zion said. You can go sit with your friends. You sure? Lando said. It's your first day of high school, man. I'm sure it's your first day too. Zion motioned toward a table of cool kids. How did I know they were cool when it was only the first day of school? Trust me. You can tell. It was like they gave off a smell, like the kind a tarantula hawk gives off that alerts tarantulas to its presence. If I were a tarantula, then the cool kids were definitely the tarantula hawks, but giving off their strong stay away from us or we'll sting you so we can use your paralyzed body to feed our baby smell, or something like that. All right, Lando said, I'll catch you guys later. I watched as he sat down at the table next to a girl with perfectly long brown hair. She wrapped her arms around him and hugged him, and I could hear her high-pitched squeals all across the noisy cafeteria. I glanced around to see who was watching me as I pulled a granola bar out of my bag. Lots of kids. I tried with all my might not to care. Seriously, it was like the might of 100 bodybuilders. And then my eyes stopped on this one boy. He raised an eyebrow and gave me a look I'd never seen before. It was a, hey there, lady, face straight out of one of the soap operas Josephine now watched, since her life had turned into a parade of never-ending boredom. over at the Golden Sunset Retirement Community. I turned away from Soap Opera Boy. Weird. I shook my head, nothing. I glanced back at the boy. He was still staring at me. Even weirder was that I could tell he was one of the cool kids. I hoped he wasn't making fun of me in some bizarre way. Zion followed my gaze. What was that? Why is he looking at you? I don't know. Do you know who he is? Oh, you mean Joshua Baker? Zion said, that guy is the biggest jerk ever. How do you know him? Is he a freshman? A sophomore. I remember when he was in 8th grade, he called me Lardon. I thought for a minute, I don't get it. It's like Zion, but with Lar instead of Zy. Get it? That's like the worst name ever. It's not even creative. Actually, it kind of is, Zion said. I googled lardon, and it turns out it's a piece of pork fat used in a variety of cuisines to flavor savory foods and salads. I frowned. Exactly how many times did you Google it? Zion ignored me as he glared at Joshua's back. Even Lando hates that guy, and Lando likes everyone. I didn't know Lando very well. Whenever I was at Zion's house, he was always out with friends or at football practice with friends or in his room talking on the phone with friends. Dude had a lot of friends. Chili has started doing the funniest thing, I said, trying to move away from obviously what was a sore subject for Zion. But he kept glaring at Joshua's back. I cleared my throat. This was important information I was about to relay, and it required his full attention. He finally moved his eyes to me. What's that? She started putting her head down to my foot to pet her. Isn't she the cutest? He didn't seem nearly as impressed as I had hoped. Can you believe how smart she is? Yeah, I know, Zion said. She's a smart horse. She's a genius horse, I said. She's the only horse I trust enough to make the jump. Zion's eyes widened. Did you do it? Not yet, but soon. I feel it coming. Maybe next lesson. I gazed at a colorful poster of the food pyramid on a nearby wall. I didn't eat nearly enough vegetables. My personal food pyramid required its own ice cream space. It's going to be amazing, like flying. I can't wait. And I can't wait to see what you do. I can't wait to see you do it at the horse show. When is it again? November. That's a relief. I was worried it was going to interfere with Comic-Con. That would have been a serious catastrophe. I slipped my other foot out of my flip-flop and worked on tearing the wrapper off my granola bar with my toes. Comic what? Comic-Con, Zion said louder, like that would help me understand. Down in Phoenix. It's for all the geeks, the dweebs, the comic book nerds, people like my parents. I glanced at Lando's table. I wouldn't be so quick to exclude the two of us from the dweeb group. What do you do there? People dress up as their favorite characters, and there's a bunch of comic book and movie stuff to check out, and they have panels that discuss all kinds of important issues in the nerd world. Like, who's the best Ghostbuster, and what exactly are magic rules surrounding Gandalf's powers. My parents have been on panels before. I'd gotten to know Zion's parents pretty well over this summer, and I had to say, anyone who could prepare an entire slideshow on the positive attributes of Magneto was so far beyond nerdy that I had never had any worries about fitting in with Zion's family. When is it? In a few weeks. You want to go? Please? Please, you have to go. I shrugged. Sure, I'll think about it. I'm sorry, Zion said. I shouldn't have phrased that in any way as a request. As my friend, you are morally obligated to go. I already asked Connor, and he's going too. Cool. I said, I'm sure it'll be fun. Do I need to dress up? Well, you don't have to, but a lot of people do. It's pretty much a requirement in my family, so I guess you better come up with something. You can borrow one of our Darth Vader masks if you want. One of them? How many do you have? I think like 8. I grinned. What else do you have? Zion took another bite of his apple and chewed thoughtfully. I'll have to go through the costume closet and see what I can find for you. Whoa, costume closet? How come I've never seen it? Didn't know you were interested. Zion looked at me for a moment. What? I think we have a Kitty Pryde costume in there that might fit you. I finally managed to tear open my granola bar and worked on peeling the wrapper down. Who's that? Is she awesome? Because I'm only capable of dressing up as super awesome characters. She's pretty cool. Well, what's her superpower? Phasing. I scowled and took a bite of my granola bar. That sounds lame. No, it's a good superpower. Basically, she can quantum tunnel through solid matter. I stared at Zion, slowly chewing my granola bar. I gulped. I'm sorry, but did you say you weren't a geek? Zion pursed his lips. Basically, it means she can make parts of herself intangible so she can pass through things. Like the Invisible Man. Zion exhaled with impatience. No, the Invisible Man is invisible, not intangible. You can't see him, but he has a regular body. I mulled this over. Would you rather be invisible or intangible? Invisible, Zion said without hesitation. What about you? Probably invisible. Although if I could make myself intangible, I wouldn't have to deal with door handles anymore. What are you going as? My mom's making me a Batman costume. I thought maybe you'd go as Morpheus, I snickered, all bald and mysterious. My parents would love that, Zion said, but no thanks. I resisted the urge to look around again to see if people were watching me eat. I knew they were. There was no need to keep checking. Even though I'd gotten used to eating in my old middle school cafeteria, this was a whole new world with a lot more kids. I knew I'd eventually get used to it here too, but this was still a struggle. You want to do a guitar lesson after school? I asked. I'd been working with Zion and Connor for several months, but now it was mostly just Zion and me, our little duo, our LT without the B, our lonely bicycle. I tried not to act too mopey about it. I was going to watch Lando's football practice. He wants me to try to get more involved and maybe try out next year. He says my size can be a good thing in football. Plus, exercise, Zion winced. I'll watch too if you can give me a ride home afterward. It was still over 100 degrees outside, and sitting on those metal bleachers in the afternoon sun sounded like torture. But it seemed like you should spend the afternoon of your first day of school with a friend. I saw some girls from the soccer team enter the cafeteria. Unfortunately, Jessica had gone to another high school, and she'd been my closest friend on the team. We had a few phone calls over the summer, but those had stopped. I'd been through this before with other friends. I knew all too well how it went. The girls from the soccer didn't seem to notice me. Soccer was over, and we would have to try out again in the spring. Plus, that was high school. This was high school. Everything was different. There were serious politics at work here. At least that's what I'd heard. I glanced over and saw that Joshua kid still watching me. He mouthed some words, and I turned my head. What is it? Zion asked me. I didn't want to know. Zion and I sat on the metal bleachers after school, but we may as well have been sitting on a barbecue. I didn't have a hat or sunblock, and I knew I would pay a price. A terrible, sun-scorched price. My phone buzzed in my bag. Now that I was a totally grown-up high schooler who, owned an entire theme park and all, my parents had finally allowed me to get a cell phone. I dug it out with my foot, but didn't manage to reach it in time before the call ended. Armless girl problems. I set my phone on the bleacher below me, called the number back up with my toes, and placed the phone between my ear and shoulder with my foot. I got your text, Mom said when she answered. You need me to come pick you up in a couple hours? No. Zion's parents will drop me off after Lando's done with football practice. Great. That works out well anyway because I'm stuck with this annoying lease paperwork for the new jewelry shop. Dad would be appalled to find out you're watching Man Smash. Sweat dripped into my eye and stung. I was kind of appalled myself. Well, soccer's out of season. Nothing I can do about it. Isn't there baseball or bocce ball or bowling or anything else you could watch? Bowling would have been so nice. Indoors. We're watching Lando play, and Zion might play eventually too. So you better get used to it. Enjoy the man smashing then, she said. I love you. Love you too. I put my phone back in my bag. I shook my head and sweat flew on Zion. Gross, he cried. Keep your sweat to yourself. I have enough over here. It was true. He had a waterfall of sweat pouring off him. I looked down at my already pink legs. I pushed them against Zion, trying to get in some of his shade. He squinted at our squished legs. Why are you acting like a weirdo? I wish my skin wasn't so pale. I'm going to fry. Lend me your arms. What for? For shade. Hold out your arms over me like an umbrella the whole time we sit here. Is that too much to ask? Zion removed the plaid button-down shirt he wore over his t-shirt and laid it over my legs like a blanket. Such a gentleman. I turned my attention back to the field. So which position would you like to play? Lando says offensive lineman would be the best position for my size. Plus, he said he would feel good knowing I was protecting him. He's a total jock, isn't he? I said. Zion looked offended. No, football's not even his favorite thing. What is then? Zion folded his arms. He's an artist. I'll have you know. What kind of artist? He draws. I scanned the field and found Lando. What does he draw? Zion shrugged. Just stuff. That's specific. He just draws all kinds of stuff. Sometimes he draws me. I watched as Lando pulled off his helmet and squirted a water bottle over his short black hair, then shook his head. I had no idea how they could wear all that gear and play football in this heat. I fully expected someone to topple over face down on the field at any moment. What position does he play again? Zion rolled his eyes. I already told you. Quarterback. I know it's not soccer, but keep up. I saw Joshua Baker run onto the field. Hey, that's that guy, the one who was staring at me in the cafeteria. Zion scowled. Yeah. It's unfortunate we have to watch him if we ever want to watch Lando. Joshua looked up and found Zion and me in the stands. He smiled and waved at us. Zion grunted. What in the... He said. Maybe he's nice now. I smiled back down at him. He was cute. No, Zion said without hesitation. That guy is the worst. You haven't seen him since 7th grade. Trust me, even he's evil. Maybe Lardon. Zion stood and threw his arms up. He called me Lardon. I'm sorry, I said, trying not to giggle at Zion's outburst. That is really mean. Zion sat back down, picked up the corner of his shirt that was protecting my legs, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. It flopped down against my leg with a wet smack. Gross, I cried, laughing and cringing at the same time as it stuck to my leg. You want my shirt? You get my sweat, especially if I have to sit here and watch you make moony eyes at my arch nemesis. He is not your arch nemesis. You haven't even seen him in over a year. A year isn't long enough for someone like that to change. Maybe he had a near-death experience and his life flashed before his eyes and he realized he was a big jerk that forced him to reevaluate his priorities. Zion squinted down the field. Unless it involved a brain transplant, I seriously doubt it.